Black coffee, he said. Just 2 words, smooth and low, cutting through the noise of the cafe like a blade through silk. Maya Reed looked up from the espresso machine, caught off guard by the voice, calm, measured, the kind that didn't ask, but commanded. The man standing before her didn't belong here. His suit was too precise, his watch too heavy, and his eyes, dark, watchful, made her fingers hesitate over the coffee grinder. "Sure," she murmured, forcing a small smile. "Room for cream or sugar?" "No." He didn't look at the pastries, didn't glance at the other customers. He looked only at her, or rather, at the small flash of silver as she reached for the mug. The ring. A simple, old-fashioned band on her right hand. Something in him stilled. The corner of his jaw tightened. The confident ease in his posture faltered, almost imperceptibly, but Maya felt it, a ripple in the air, the kind of silence that pulls every eye toward it without anyone knowing why. She followed his gaze, realized what he was staring at, and instinctively curled her fingers to hide it. "Just a family keepsake," she said lightly, though he hadn't asked. His eyes met hers again, not with curiosity, but with recognition. A muscle worked in his cheek, and for a fleeting second, she saw something raw flicker beneath the control. "What did you say your name was?" he asked. "I didn't." The faintest hint of a smile ghosted across his lips, humorless. "Then maybe you should." "Maya," she said after a pause. "Maya Reed." He repeated it under his breath, tasting the syllables like something that didn't quite make sense. Then, without another word, he set a $100 bill on the counter and turned to leave. The cafe fell silent behind him. Maya stood motionless, the sound of the bell above the door echoing long after he was gone, a strange, metallic chime that felt less like a farewell and more like a warning. The rain started before closing. Thin, relentless, tapping against the windows like fingertips trying to get in. Maya wiped down the counter for the 5th time, glancing at the clock, 10:47 p.m. The cafe was empty except for the hum of the refrigerator and the smell of espresso that never really left. She was reaching for her coat when the door creaked open. A man stepped in, not him, but someone who looked like he belonged to the same world. The kind that wore darkness like a tailored suit. He didn't order coffee. Didn't take off his gloves. Just walked straight to the counter and laid something flat between them. A photograph. Her ring. The same one, every scratch, every imperfection, perfectly visible in the close-up image. "Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice thinner than she wanted. The man didn't answer right away. He studied her with eyes that never blinked, then said quietly, "You should be very careful where you wear it." Maya's heart skipped. "It's just jewelry. Nothing about this is just anything." He tapped the photo once with a gloved finger. This ring belonged to a woman who disappeared 20 years ago. A woman with the Hale name. She frowned. "Hale?" "Dominic Hale," he said, watching her reaction. "You served him this morning." The name hit her like a door slamming shut. The stranger leaned closer, his voice low but sharp. "He doesn't like surprises. Especially not ones that look like ghosts." Maya swallowed hard. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing." He smiled faintly, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Consider this a warning. Some things in this city are better left buried." He slipped the photograph back into his coat pocket, leaving behind a faint scent of cologne and rain. Then he added, almost as an afterthought, "He'll come back for answers." "And when he does?" "When he does what?" she pressed. The man's gaze flicked toward the window. "Don't be here to find out." He left before she could say another word. The bell above the door didn't ring this time, it only trembled, soundless. Maya stood there, trembling, the weight of the silence pressing against her ribs. She locked the door, pulled the blinds, and turned off the lights, but the feeling didn't fade. The phone rang once that night. No voice. Just breathing. Then again, at 1 a.m. A car idled outside her apartment building, headlights cutting through the rain, unmoving. She stood at the window, clutching her phone, whispering to no one, "What do you want from me?" The car's lights flicked once, a flash, before disappearing into the fog. But even after it was gone, Maya knew one thing for certain. Someone hadn't just found her. They were watching. Hey, hold on a second. If what I'm saying right now touched you, even a little. If you've ever felt small, unseen, or lost, I get you. Truly. You're not alone. And if you've got even a little bit of strength left, just grab your phone. Hit the like button, drop a few words in the comments. And subscribe. For you, it's just a second. But for me, it's a sign. A sign that there's someone out there. Someone real. Who's listening, who feels this too. Thank you for being here. Really. From the heart. All right, let's keep going. The invitation arrived 2 days later, cream envelope, heavy paper, her name written in elegant black ink. Dominic Hale requests your presence. Private family matter. Maya stared at it over her morning coffee, hands trembling. There was no address printed, just a time and a black seal embossed with an emblem she didn't recognize. By evening, a car waited outside her apartment. The driver didn't speak. The ride lasted nearly an hour through winding roads and fog until the city lights faded completely. When they stopped, Maya stepped out into silence, the kind that swallows sound. The mansion rose before her like something carved out of winter itself, pale stone, iron gates, and too many windows. Lights glowed behind thick curtains, but it felt less alive than watched. Inside, marble floors reflected the dim light of chandeliers. Mirrors lined the hall, their glass tinted slightly, as if hiding more than they revealed. Dominic was waiting in a vast study filled with books and the faint smell of tobacco and rain. He didn't rise when she entered. "Maya Reed," he said, her name cutting through the silence like a verdict. She swallowed. "You asked me to come." "I did." He gestured toward the chair opposite his desk. "Please, sit." She obeyed, her palms slick against her knees. On the desk lay a silver-framed photograph, a woman and a little girl. Both smiling. Both wearing the ring. Dominic followed her gaze. "You've seen this before." Maya shook her head quickly. "No. I haven't." He leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "That ring you wear, it's not a replica. It belonged to my wife. And before her, my daughter." Her throat tightened. "I told you, it's just a keepsake. I don't even know where. Don't lie to me." The words weren't loud, but they carried enough force to still the air between them. Maya flinched. "I'm not lying. It's been in my family since before I was born." Dominic's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his composure, pain, disbelief, maybe both. "She died wearing that ring. And my daughter vanished with her. That was 20 years ago." The room spun slightly. Maya's voice came out as a whisper. "You think I'm your daughter?" "No," he stood then, finally moving, his presence filling the space. "But I think you know more than you should." I don't even." He raised a hand, silencing her. I'm not your enemy, Miss Reed. But I am a man who's lost everything once before. You understand what that does to a person? His voice dropped, lower now, almost a confession. It makes them ruthless about the truth. The study doors opened soundlessly. A tall man in black entered, whispered something to Dominic, and disappeared again. Dominic's jaw tightened. You'll stay here tonight. What? No, I have a job, an apartment. Both will still exist in the morning. He turned away, already dismissing her. The guest wing is prepared. Someone will show you the way. Maya's pulse quickened. You can't just. He looked back, his gaze sharp enough to stop her mid-sentence. Miss Reed. You came here because I asked. You'll leave when I decide you're safe to leave. Do we understand each other? For a moment, neither of them spoke. Only the faint ticking of the clock between them filled the silence. Finally, Maya nodded. Yes, we understand. He studied her one last time, as if committing her to memory. Good. As she followed the silent housekeeper through endless hallways, Maya caught glimpses of mirrors that seemed to tilt slightly after she passed. When she reached her room, elegant, cold, almost too perfect, she closed the door, locked it twice, and pressed her back against it. Her reflection in the mirror looked pale and unreal. She could still hear Dominic's words echoing in her mind. She died wearing that ring. But what haunted her most wasn't his suspicion. It was the look in his eyes when he said it, the look of a man who'd already buried his truth once, and wasn't sure he could survive doing it again. Outside her window, rain began to fall again. Somewhere in the house, a door clicked shut. Maya turned toward the sound, heart pounding. And saw, for the briefest moment, a red light blinking behind the mirror. The house slept, but Maya couldn't. The blinking red light behind the mirror wouldn't leave her mind. She got up, barefoot on cold marble, heart beating too loud for the silence around her. The room was elegant, too elegant, and smelled faintly of polish and secrets. Every surface gleamed, every object too deliberately placed. She approached the mirror. Up close, she saw it wasn't flush with the wall, there was a thin gap along the frame. She pressed her fingertips there, hesitated, then pushed. A faint click. The mirror shifted just enough to reveal a small black lens, no larger than a fingernail. A hidden camera. Her breath caught. She stumbled back, pulse hammering in her ears. They were watching her. Every movement, every word. Maya? The voice behind her made her spin around. The housekeeper, a pale woman with silver hair and hollow eyes, stood in the doorway, holding a candle instead of turning on the lights. I thought I heard something, Maya stammered. The woman's gaze flicked to the mirror, then back to her. You shouldn't wander after midnight, she said quietly. This house remembers. Before Maya could ask what that meant, the woman turned and walked away, candlelight flickering down the hall until it vanished entirely. Left alone again, Maya pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. The camera's tiny light blinked once more, steady, patient, unblinking. Sleep was impossible. By 2 a.m., she found herself roaming the corridor, guided by instinct and fear in equal measure. The house was a labyrinth of shadows and locked doors. Her footsteps echoed softly against marble floors. Halfway down the east wing, she noticed a draft coming from behind an old tapestry, the faint scent of dust and cedar. She lifted the fabric and found a narrow door, barely visible, its brass handle cold to the touch. Locked. But when she tugged again, the latch gave way with a tired groan. Inside was darkness, thick and still. She flicked on her phone's flashlight. The beam caught shelves of old books, yellowed papers, and a heavy leather-bound journal on a desk covered in dust. The journal was written in Italian, its handwriting elegant and precise. She couldn't read much, but she recognized dates: 1999, 2001, 2003, and one recurring name, Isabella Hale. Turning the last few pages, she froze. Tucked between them was a photograph. A woman holding a little girl, smiling, sunlit, and on the woman's hand, the same silver ring. Her ring. Maya sat down slowly, heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. The child in the picture had her eyes, her hair, even the small scar near her eyebrow, a scar she'd always had but never remembered getting. The final page of the journal carried only one line written in English, shaky and urgent. "If she survives, protect her." Maya's hand trembled as she traced the words. Her mind reeled. She couldn't be part of this family. It made no sense. Yet every detail around her screamed otherwise. Footsteps echoed suddenly in the hall. Heavy. Purposeful. She snapped the journal shut and killed her phone's light. The footsteps paused just outside the door. "Maya?" Dominic's voice. Calm, but with that edge again, the one that made truth sound like a trap. She held her breath. Silence stretched, then the door handle turned slightly, and stopped. A long pause. Then his footsteps moved away. Only when the sound faded did she dare breathe again. She sat there in the dark, the journal clutched to her chest, her pulse thrumming like a warning bell. If Dominic was telling the truth, if his wife and daughter had vanished, then who exactly was she? And why did the house, with all its cameras and secrets, feel less like a prison, and more like a cage built to keep something safe? Morning came with a kind of cruel beauty, pale light spilling across silk curtains, disguising how little Maya had slept. The journal lay hidden beneath the mattress. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that photograph again, the woman with her smile, the ring gleaming in the sun. At 9 sharp, there was a knock. The same housekeeper entered without waiting for a reply. "Mr. Hale requests your presence downstairs. You'll need to dress accordingly." "Dress?" Maya echoed. "There's an event this evening. Important people. Important appearances." The woman's tone left no room for questions. By evening, the mansion had transformed. Crystal chandeliers burned brighter, soft jazz hummed beneath the chatter of wealthy guests, and waiters in black uniforms moved like clockwork through the glittering crowd. Maya felt out of place in the black gown they'd chosen for her, too elegant, too revealing, too intentional. Dominic stood near the grand staircase, surrounded by politicians, art dealers, men whose smiles hid knives. When he saw her descend, conversation stilled for a heartbeat. His eyes followed her, unreadable, assessing, before he turned back to his guests. "Quite an entrance," murmured a voice at her side. A woman stood there, tall, striking, with scarlet lips and a diamond necklace that caught every light. She extended a glass of champagne with a perfect smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Veronica Kane," she said. "Dominic's business partner. And apparently, tonight's mystery guest." "Maya Reed," she replied carefully. "Oh, I know." Veronica's tone was smooth as silk, sharp as glass. "Everyone's talking about you. The girl who appears out of nowhere, stays in Dominic's private wing, and wears his dead wife's ring. You must realize how provocative that looks." Maya's stomach tightened. "It's not what you think." Veronica's laugh was soft but cruel. "My dear, in this house, nothing ever is." Before Maya could answer, a familiar voice cut through the room. Veronica. Dominic approached, his presence shifting the air like gravity. You're intimidating my guest. Just making conversation, Veronica purred. You do have a talent for collecting strays. Dominic's expression didn't change, but something cold flashed in his eyes. Be careful, Veronica. You forget who feeds the wolves around here. Her smile froze for a heartbeat, then softened again. Always a pleasure, Dominic. She turned and melted back into the crowd. Maya exhaled slowly. She hates me. She hates anyone who reminds her she's replaceable, Dominic said quietly, his gaze sweeping the room. Stay close tonight. Why? Because I asked you to. His tone left no space for argument. As the night unfolded, Maya noticed how every conversation stopped when she passed. Guests watched her the way predators watch movement in tall grass. The deeper the evening went, the more it felt like a performance, one she hadn't agreed to star in. Near midnight, she slipped away toward the quieter east corridor, where the noise of the party faded into muffled laughter and clinking glass. That's when she heard voices, hushed, urgent. She pressed herself against the wall near a half-open door. She shouldn't be here, a man's voice said, familiar, sharp. Ray Calder, Dominic's advisor. If he learns who she is. He won't, Veronica interrupted. Not until we decide how to use it. Use what? Maya's pulse quickened. Dominic's judgment has softened, Veronica continued. If she's truly connected to Isabella, if she's their child. Ray cut her off. Then she's more dangerous than you realize. If he accepts her, everything changes, inheritance, power, control. You'll lose everything. I won't lose, Veronica hissed. We'll handle her before he finds out. The air left Maya's lungs. She backed away silently, one step at a time, until her heel hit the edge of a side table. The sound, faint but distinct, made the voices stop. Maya? Veronica's voice sliced through the quiet. Maya ran. She darted down the hall, heart racing, the hem of her dress catching on the floor. Somewhere behind her, footsteps echoed, calm and deliberate. She turned a corner, pushed through a side door, and slipped into a narrow servants' corridor dimly lit by flickering bulbs. She pressed her back to the cold wall, trying to steady her breathing. A low hum came from a nearby storage room, the faint glow of red lights. Surveillance monitors. Dozens of them, showing every angle of the mansion, the ballroom, the staircases, her own bedroom. On one screen, she saw Dominic and Veronica standing close, their faces tense, words hidden by silence. Another showed Ray speaking into his phone, glancing toward the east wing. She realized, with a sick twist in her gut, that she was watching them, but they'd been watching her all along. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone. With trembling fingers, she opened the recorder, lifted it toward the speakers, and captured their final words still echoing in her head. If he learns the truth, she won't live to tell it. Morning arrived pale and cold, as if the mansion itself had exhaled the secrets of the night. Maya hadn't slept. The recording was still on her phone, Veronica's voice, calm and poisonous. If he learns the truth, she won't live to tell it. When the knock came at her door, she already knew who it was. Mr. Hale requests you, the housekeeper said, eyes lowered. The study looked different in daylight, less majestic, more suffocating. Dominic stood by the tall windows, hands clasped behind his back, a man carved from restraint. At the sound of her footsteps, he turned. You've been busy, he said. Maya blinked. I don't. Spare me. He gestured to the desk. On it lay the journal she'd hidden, the photograph, and, God, her phone. She froze. You left it unlocked, he said simply. Interesting things, modern devices. They record truths we'd rather not hear. Her throat tightened. You listened. I heard enough. His voice was low, dangerous not because it was loud but because it didn't need to be. You were in the surveillance room. You found the journal. You went digging through a past that isn't yours. It is mine, she shot back before she could stop herself. Dominic's eyes flicked up, sharp, startled. What did you say? I didn't come here to lie. You said your wife and daughter vanished. You said that ring belonged to them. Then tell me why I have it. Tell me why that little girl in your photograph looks exactly like me. For the first time since she'd met him, his composure fractured. He took a slow step toward her, then another, his expression unreadable, equal parts disbelief and something like fear. Who gave you that ring? My mother, Maya whispered. She died when I was 8. She said it was a gift from someone who loved me once. Dominic's jaw tightened. Her name? Caroline Reed. He turned away sharply, one hand gripping the back of a chair as if to steady himself. Caroline, he repeated, voice hollow. She changed her name. Of course she did. What are you talking about? He faced her again, eyes burning with realization. My wife's name wasn't Isabella Hale. It was Isabella Karina. Her mother's maiden name was Reed. The room seemed to tilt around her. You're saying? I'm saying she didn't die that night, he cut in, voice rough now. The explosion, the car, it was staged. She ran, took our child. I searched for years. His hand shook slightly as he reached for the photograph. I buried empty coffins. Silence stretched between them, heavy and fragile. Maya took a trembling step forward. Then who am I, Dominic? He met her gaze, and for a heartbeat, all the coldness drained away. You're the only thing I ever loved that was taken from me. Her breath caught. You think I'm your daughter? I don't think, he said quietly. I know. The words hit her harder than any threat could have. Her mind swirled, her childhood, her mother's secrecy, the nightmares of fire and sirens she'd never been able to explain. It all fit too neatly. Too cruelly. She sank into a chair, her voice barely a whisper. All this time, you've been searching for revenge. And you found family instead. Dominic exhaled shakily, walking to the window. Revenge is easier. It doesn't ask for forgiveness. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. The doors burst open, Ray called her, pale and sweating. Sir, Veronica's gone. Security footage shows her leaving with a briefcase. She took documents. Financials. The ring registry. Dominic turned, and for the first time, his authority returned like the snap of a storm. Find her. Ray hesitated. And the girl? Maya looked up sharply. Dominic's voice was cold now, but steady. She stays. No one touches her. When they were alone again, silence settled like dust after a gunshot. Maya rose slowly. So what now? You lock me in this house and pretend we're family? His gaze softened. No. You're free to leave. She blinked. Just like that? You came here a stranger, he said. You deserve the choice I was never given. He reached into the desk drawer and slid something across the polished wood, her mother's photograph, edges worn, the same ring glinting faintly in the corner. Take it, he said. Take it, and when you look at it, remember that the truth was never meant to hurt you. Maya picked up the photograph, her hand trembling. And if I stay? His eyes met hers, raw, unguarded. Then I stop being a man who's lost everything, and start being a father again. For the first time, she didn't feel afraid. Just hollow, filled with 1,000 questions and a strange, aching calm. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, echoing through the glass. Somewhere, far beyond those walls, Veronica Kane was already disappearing into the storm with the secrets that could still destroy them both. And Maya, standing in the heart of the mansion that had once hunted her, realized the truth wasn't the end of the story, it was the beginning of a war. Dawn crept across the city, pale and uncertain, like a secret that didn't want to be told. Maya stood on the mansion's stone balcony, the morning wind tugging at her hair. The world below was quiet, too quiet for everything that had changed. Behind her, Dominic watched from the doorway, a silhouette framed by the fading shadows of night. He looked older now, as if truth itself had taken something from him. "You're leaving," he said. She nodded. "You said I was free." He stepped closer, stopping just short of her shoulder. "Freedom isn't always peace." "No," she said softly. "But it's mine." For a long moment, neither moved. The silence between them wasn't hostility anymore, it was fragile understanding. Two lives broken by the same past, now standing at the edge of something that felt almost like forgiveness. Dominic reached into his pocket and placed the ring in her palm, the silver band warm from his touch. "It began with this," he murmured. "Let it mean something better now." Maya looked down at it, then slipped it back onto her finger. "It already does." A car waited at the end of the long drive. She walked toward it without looking back, afraid that if she did, she might stay. As the gates opened, the first sunlight spilled across the road, painting the world in gold. She breathed deeply, not fear this time, but clarity. She wasn't the frightened barista from the café anymore. Not a secret, not a mistake. Just someone who finally knew where she came from, and what she was capable of. Behind her, Dominic watched until the car disappeared down the hill. Only then did he turn back toward the house, where a single light flickered in his study, the one that meant someone was watching. Veronica's voice echoed faintly from the forgotten recording still on his desk. "If he learns the truth, she won't live to tell it." His expression hardened. The story wasn't over. It had only just begun.